What is up, guys? My name is Donny from nextlevelesports.com, the #1 platform for esports coaches and team development to help you and your team reach that next level by getting the people side of esports right. So in this video, we will talk about Bjergsen because he is probably those are the rumors, and there's a big chance that Bjergsen, that is now the head coach of TSM, will return as a player. Not sure if he's still sticking with TSM as his brand, or maybe is exploring LEC or European or other regions as well. So in order to analyze this this thing that is happening, because it's very unique that a former pro player is going to coach, that is quite unique as well, but less frequent. But it's even more unique when a head coach that was a previous player returns as a player. So we break it down, this analysis, in 2 questions basically, and then why would a player become a coach for a team, and then why would a coach return as a player as a team? What could be the possible things that are made the decision in terms of Bjergsen's mind, and what are some things that he has to look out for, or things that are basically the consequences of this choice for him and also the esports scene as a whole. So let's dive into the analysis. So before we're gonna start off, some stats about Bjergsen. So he's 25 years old, so he, in esports terms, is a veteran, and he's decently old, whatever old means. We still have to figure out what average age is, or the lifespan of esports athletes or coaches. But that aside, in terms of esports, many view that as a veteran or an old type of player. But he started off at 16 years age, and most of his career he played for TSM. I believe in 2013 he signed with TSM, and that's basically now almost or roughly 8 years under the brand name of TSM, and the other 2 years of different teams as well, on a really high competitive League of Legends full-time professional gamer level. So when he's 25 years old, you would say like, okay, he still has his life years ahead of him, but we have to understand that Bjergsen was into the competitive league scene in 16 years. And if you have been in the competitive professional league scene for 10 years, that is like a lifetime. It feels like, even though you have lived 16 years, is mostly preschool, your life starts basically around that point, and everything you basically know is League of Legends, TSM, professional coaching. So one of the reasons why he could become a coach in the first place is that he thought like, okay, this is all I know. I find it pretty comfortable, but I believe there is more because I only explored this side of esports. So I think that has something to do with it, that he feels like, okay, I'm a very top tier player. I've been to Worlds, I've won championship, I've basically have almost done everything and won everything except for the Worlds trophy. So I want to explore coaching in the first place, and I believe that's a good ride. And in the beginning, he started off a bit rusty, like average, like within the competition, but he picked up some results. And now, after a year, now he wanted to return as a player from his head coach position. So what are some things that are popping in my mind? So I also did some research on some different streamers and people that know Bjergsen or know him personally, and what they think or what the reasons could be why he's returning. So one of them was Nemesis. He's now a streamer for Genji in Asia, and he says like, okay, maybe he thought like, okay, coaching is the way to go because I can influence the team more and can be more guidance, or be more of a guide towards my teammates instead of being inside the team and in as a player myself, because there's a head coach above me and he's also taking a leadership role, and maybe he felt like, okay, I can impact that more. But once he got into that coaching position, And most coaches often have this, not all, but many coaches is like, coaching is pretty darn hard. So what Nemesis was saying, like, he understood maybe after a while, like, okay, I get some results, and I believe he already got a first place already with TSM, so that's good. But it's not that easy, maybe not that fulfilling, or maybe he thought differently because he's been player all the time and just only have to focus on like his confinements of the champions, and the game itself is a clear framework. But with humans and all the interactions and problems and scheduling and maintaining motivation, etc., it is a much bigger ballpark to play in. And so it can be very complex. And I think he did a decent job for being a coach for 1 year. So props to him. But it could be that he feels like, okay, this is not really what I expected. I can do it, but it's different. So maybe he got a bit bored, is also what Nemesis is saying. And it could be like, okay, I've done this. And now he had this different perspective of being an esports coach. And now he maybe is making his comeback because of that. And also a thing that is also good to mention, what Nemesis also said, like, oh, it's quite a weird choice to stick as that long around TSM. So there could be many reasons. So there's a common theme in North America that they have a lot of money. So that could be one thing. But if you played so many years there, the value of money for most people goes down because you want to develop, and people have an innate sense that we want to grow, that we want to develop, that we want to expand, that we want to build something and to be more impactful in the world. So even though he may stay there for maybe 3, 4, 5 years, maybe the latest years he wanted to more impact the esports scene as a whole through different ways. And so that could be one thing. So those could be some reasons why he stick with TSM, because if he didn't stick with TSM, maybe he had some different successes or different things, but because he's such a staple for TSM, he built his brand so good around him. Next to Double Lift, those are basically one of the biggest names in LCS, the North America Championship. So that is a big point. So he also gained a lot from it to stick and be recognized and one-on-one with TSM. And also the next thing is also that some people that are talking about Bjergsen, that he has a stake in TSM, so he's partly owner. So that is a big thing, because if you want to expand or if you want to return as a player, then you cannot just like join every other team if you have a stake in one particular organization that is basically your competition. So that is a tough thing. And so maybe Bjergsen has to sell his shares in order to be free of the contract to move to other teams, or other teams or brands have more problems with him being close to him, because maybe if he goes to the LEC, the European Championship, he doesn't directly you would say to North America LCS, but when it comes to world stage or international tournaments where they be a competitor of each other, then it is really a big difference, because then you have like just like a huge conflict of interest, like, oh, is he explicitly losing, or is he supporting, or is it holding him back? And even though you don't see it as a service, or maybe he could be like fully focused on his own, people have that thought, and it's a big conflict of interest. And also maybe under the surface, what you cannot see, he's a little bit biased or from one team to another, and that's not what people like in competition. So you want to be as objective and just like support one team if you are especially a player. That sounds logical, but this makes it a lot more difficult for itself as well. So some people also say like, okay, is he still capable of being a player, because maybe he's rusty. He recently started to play the solo queue again. He's also known, what they say, for more so his passive play, so maybe that changed, and it feels like, because if you have been in a coach perspective, you have such a bigger ballpark, as I mentioned before, and if you then go back to a very clear defined framework, you can have perhaps a different perspective of how to engage the game or how to set up different plays from different angles, because you also had the eagle eye view, the zoomed out view. And even though you might think like, okay, I'm a player and I do my own VOD reviews and I've been witnessing and experiencing it also from the coach side, so I see this as well. Believe me, it's different, because you have to look into not only at the game, because players are focused on the game and the coach is focused on the people that influence the game. So it's a much broader perspective on what to fill in, and also like combinations of play styles and personalities, etc. So you have so much more just like fruitful knowledge inside your own toolkit as a player that way. So there could be a real benefit, but it could also be that he might be too rusty, or maybe he should retire. But as I have to say, before he went into retirement and became a coach, he was doing pretty well. So I believe he can still do it, but is it still at that level, or is it what expected? There's pretty some pressure on him. So another person that talked about him was also Jankos, the jungler at the moment for G2. And he just basically jokingly said like he could also be tilted, because he's coaching people and he feels like, okay, if I were the player, I wouldn't make these amounts of mistakes, or I would play this differently in the team, or I could impact way more than in my position as a coach. So now this could be true and maybe tilted in some sense, but also this also is maybe a lack of coaching equipment, that he didn't have enough tools available to really impact those players, or to really transform the mindset or the play style of the team as a whole, to really dig down, and he more perceived it. And that's basically normal from his own perspective. So if there's a player inside his mid lane role that has a whole different way of approaching the game, a different personality, a different way to live the day-to-day life and to think, and what pops up and how he processes information. Like at first it feels like, okay, we're the same mid laner, and yeah, there's just slight differences, but after a year and many times spending hours upon hours and weeks and months together, you'll see huge differences. And if he would look only from his perspective, Bjergsen, I 100% sure he doesn't, but there's always a sort of bias towards your own perception of how you view things. So that could be like at a part of what Jankos is saying, like his tilted perception of the game, or the people that are playing inside the team, or maybe that he feel like, okay, if I would do this, then I would impact more. And that can be true, but we also have to look at the other side of the perspective, that those players that they are doing something well, but maybe not his preference, and he doesn't see it, or he doesn't acknowledge that as much. So there's something to say for everything, and we have to see in terms of results and performance how Bjergsen does as a player if he returns. So some would say also like it's a good choice also for the scene as well, and the LCS in general, because he has such a big brand, more people will watch, because he's basically a role model, a hero, and many people will like it, and it's a huge hype. And I'm very curious how he will perform as well, and also what his role will be, if he would be, let's say, within TSM, a player than someone else that his coach is. Like, would there be a conflict, or how will that play out? Or is he really supporting as a more like fatherly captain figure within the team? I'm sure they will work something out, but also there are some rough edges there that could potentially go wrong, but I have all the trust that they will find a way, and especially Bjergsen, because I think he's a very smart and intelligent guy, and and I have to just like restate it again, he's only 25. So even though, yes, he's been around in esports 10 years, he's a very good player. He's been a one-year coach as a head coach, so he has a lot of experience, but he's not everything. Just like everyone else, I still have so many things to learn. So there could be some gaps between like communication or linking with a team or something from a different perspective or whatever that always could go wrong. So we have to keep open for that and also give him time to maybe transition back to it. So those are some views from other people, and I have some thoughts on my own as well, because it could also be like a potential threat is not only for him or TSM or the team, because I believe that's too confined, because he has such a big brand and people are following, and I believe like it's millions and millions are following, and he's curious about what he's going to do. I believe it will negatively impact the way there's going to be looked to coaches. Now, why is that? Let me explain. Because imagine if you would multiply this behavior of being a player all the time, then you transition to a coach and then go back to a player, and you will multiply that by 1,000 times, or like it's a common theme, then the role and value of a coach will decline by quite a margin. Now, why is that? Because then it will seem like, okay, you can be a coach whenever you want, and if you feel like, okay, I feel like playing again, I just go be a player again, and that will reduce the value or perceived value of a coach, because it could state or imply for other people that don't know all the nuances or cannot comprehend the different perspective of what his decision or anything in the bigger scope of things, what it can be, that it's like, okay, coaching is boring or maybe nice for once in a while. You don't need to do much because, well, if you feel like it, you can go back. Because in order to really achieve the biggest results, you need to have a right coach. And the traditional sports, they really understand this. Like, teams are made or broken with the coach most of the time, and the vision that is set out, the way it keeps together the players, how it's motivated, how everything works inside, and also, of course, the knowledge and things, but more so the people side of how do I work as a coach with people. And then like the real champions are made, because there are coaches like in traditional sports that have won so many things in different areas and different teams. Of course, they had like star players in every team, but those other teams that didn't have that coach had that same basic opportunity, and they didn't got it. So don't underestimate the role of a coach, and especially if you are a coach, like, make it your craft, make it your expertise, and really dive into it. And I believe you have to love coaching. And also, from my sense, also some thoughts about Bjergsen is, maybe in his core soul, he felt like, I'm not ready yet to become a head coach. It's too safe, or maybe too grown up. And I feel like I'm still more of a player than a coach. And that is cool, right? Because he's still young as hell, right? 25, it sounds old for maybe most of you, but in perspective of life, it's nothing. You're young as F. So we have to understand those dynamics also going on, and what and how he made that decision, basically. So it could also be that his ego took over, that he felt like, okay, I'm so much better than all these guys, and it's just like his ego taking over, and it feels like, okay, I can be the better player. And I've had some experience with a couple of coaches that became coach and then tried to sub in or be a player later on, and they grinded it really hard. And yeah, they were not bad players, like, not sure, but it's like, it's very, very, and I would say almost impossible, and those are anomalies, that can be a great player at the same time and a great coach. People that always, in the beginning, have a conflict of interest, like, oh, I want to be a player, but I want to be a coach, always will be in some way be divided in terms of energy and focus. So if you are a coach and you are thinking about that, maybe I want to play again because it's fun, it's more confined, and I love the rush of winning and playing and outplaying people, outsmarting people, etc., being with the team, laughing and grinding it out together, then it's a whole different perspective and ballpark than if you're a coach that is organizing people and giving everything around it. So feel for yourself like what you feel like, and be there, because if you really want to make it to the top and make a change in your esports career, like focus on either esports coaching or being a player or something in between. And of course, like, don't listen to my advice, but if you want to become the best of the best, if you look at different examples in business, in traditional sports or whatever, of course, we know the people that have been successful players and successful coaches, but I don't know anyone that has been a coach and then came back as a player. Only very few people came back from retirement as a player and then have been somewhat successful. Those are very, very small numbers, especially as a coach. So I would say if Bjergsen do this and is very on point with his play style and does everything right, and he's still a star player, I believe he was more of a player inside his soul than a coach in the first place. Even though he tried, and I believe 100% he tried and gave everything to be the best coach he can be. But if you're torn apart by, I don't know, your ego or just like your desire from your inner self to be pulled away to like, oh, maybe you should be a player, maybe you can play better than this other mid game, or oh, if you were against him, like I kind of like that rush, etc., then you're always constantly day in day out divided, and you cannot do anything else than become a player. So those are some interesting things to think about. And yeah, it could also be like he likes to be more in the spotlight. So that is one thing. As a coach, you're more like in the shadows, behind the stage, doing everything you can, maybe even working twice or thrice, 3 times as hard as your players in terms of how you perceive it, because you have to do complex puzzles with humans, etc. But you're not in the spotlight, so you're not acknowledged that much of your efforts or your perceived value. So that could also be a thing, like I like to be acknowledged for the things that I do. So that is one thing. And the other thing is, like, he could have also been stuck in his environment, that he feels like, okay, I've been with TSM roughly 8 years now. I like it, but I want to explore other things because I like it really much, but I have to push myself out there to explore what I already know and what is there to be explored and to be seen and to be learned and to be developed for myself as well. So it could also be been pushed by progress and growth from his inner self, that he want to expand his borders of what for him is his known world, and to explore more the unexplored territories within esports. So very good reason as well. And lastly, I believe, like, you have to love the game so much to play it in order to come back. So I think that's also a good motivation for him, that he truly loves League of Legends, to play the game with his teammates and just is in love with the game. Because if you want to come back and you've been a coach and everything in your life is revolved around League of Legends, it must be really important to you. And I believe you cannot play League of Legends at the very highest level, and especially also for other games as well, if you're not committed and you're not in love with the game. Maybe sometime, but you won't be happy, you don't feel it. I know some stories of Counter-Strike players that saying like, I don't really love the game, but I'm good at it, so I don't really practice as much, but I still play. I believe maybe those players will have his spot in a championship maybe 1 year, but when now everything is more pushed from the bottom up and more resources are coming in and more tools to hone talent and to increase skill, those are the first people to leave, retire, or get pushed away by new talent, upcoming talent. So it's a good thing. So yeah, there you go. I'm curious what you think on this Bjergsen situation and what your analysis might be. It's a lot of speculation, of course, but those could be some reasons why he became a coach and why he returned as a player, because there could be many truth in it, something more than the other, but maybe probably it's a combination of everything, but he obviously has his good reasons as well. So let me know in the comments down below what you think, and yeah, that is it for this video. And also I want you guys to let you know, if you stick around at the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, please hit the thumbs up, and if you loved it, also be sure to hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell, so you'll always be up to speed with new types of content. And also recently I launched my new website and also a free ebook. I thought first about selling it, because I believe it's 27 pages with tons and tons of value. It's about the foundation of performance, how to motivate your players, and there's so much value in that, and I wish that you pick it up. So go downwards into the description and go to nextlevelesports.com/ebook to grab your free copy today. So be sure to grab it, and thank you so much for watching, and see you guys next time. Bye bye.